Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Absolute Power Ground Zero Issue 1 by Mark Waid, Joshua Williamson, Nicole Maines, and Chip Zdarsky. The Absolute Power mega event begins right here with a special issue that more or less rounds out some of the key plots left over from Suicide Squad, the Superman ongoing, and the Batman ongoing. Plots which are pretty integral to Waller's plans to make the Earth a world without superheroes. First up, Mark Waid teams with Nicole Maines and begins with a story called Stage 1, picking up with Dreamer, who has resigned herself to working with Waller and learns that she has turned Gamora into a new Supermax prison for all the superheroes. On top of that, Jay Nakamura is loose on the island and Waller wants him dealt with since she can't afford him or his Truth News network to get wind of what she is doing. Now this is something that should have been in the plot for the Dream Team Suicide Squad book. If you didn't see my reviews of the 4-issue miniseries, which I suggest you go back and read since it ties directly into this, I had big problems with the directions of the series since it never properly developed any of the characters. They ended the book exactly where they started it. There was no real development. And some of the plots actually stopped midway through the book and were never really answered, and one of them was with Jay's mother, who was the president of Gamora, and Waller had her killed by Bizarro. Jay of course figured this out and he's trying to get off the island and learn what is exactly going on, but Deadeye manages to slow him down with a shot to the leg and Dreamer is forced to take him down. Nia and Jay do get a moment to talk while in the prison cells, and it concludes with Jay branding Nia as no hero, and apparently it's this that makes Dreamer decide to go after Waller. Again, this is some great drama and situations to put Dreamer in, so why was it not in that Dream Team book, as it could have been a great starter for Dreamer's story of rebellion against Waller with the Suicide Squad in Absolute Power. It also kind of negates everything we saw in that book, because that book ended with her resigned to the fact that she can't beat Waller, yet here she's deciding, right, I'm gonna beat Waller. It's very strange. I don't really know what they're doing with this character, and I don't think the writers know what to do with the character either. I'm glad Jay is getting involved in the story now though. I really like Jay as a character, and I think he deserves more development than he has gotten as of late. And while I know he's not going to have a major role in the event, I do hope we get to see him from time to time as the event progresses over the next couple of months. Mark Waid then teams up with Chip Zdarsky for Stage 2, which sees Waller bring Time Commander back to life with his time-reversing hourglass, recruiting him into the Suicide Squad. The entire issue is from Time Commander's POV, which is a great way to structure the story as he is being introduced to Waller's plans and Waller's world alongside of us, and it's great little catch-up. Waid did the same thing in the Free Comic Book Day issue, so I'm glad that there's an issue that's doing it again for people who might have missed that Free Comic Book Day issue or maybe couldn't have picked it up or anything. Discover that Waller needs John's powers to rewind time on broken objects, since she needs him to use the device to bring back Failsafe, the killer robot Batman has been dealing with the last few months in his ongoing. Waller makes it clear that she tried to use the device without John's help, but Failsafe's body couldn't work with the device for some reason, and she needs Time Commander to figure out why. This was the one lingering plot thread which I was really interested in, because we saw that Failsafe was working with Waller, but then in Zdarsky's Batman ongoing, Zur-En-Arrh, who was possessing the Failsafe body, was destroyed, with Failsafe along with him. And I think this is probably the best way they could have brought him back. They're just bringing back the robot side, they're bringing back Failsafe, not Zur-En-Arrh. And I think that's something they're going to have to make clear, because I don't think a lot of people realize that Failsafe was possessed by Zur-En-Arrh and it wasn't just Failsafe. This is a very schlocky comic book science way to bring someone back from the dead, and I'm all for it. It's fine. It fits the aesthetic they're going for with the story. John gets to work on fixing his hourglass, and he actually manages to do it quick, taking only a matter of hours, but he buys himself 5 days so he can try and figure out what the hell is going on with Waller, using his time device to look into the future, and what he sees scares him so much he just decides to cut bait and run. To escape, he builds himself a time device, hoping to go back in time and escape whatever Waller has planned. However, Waller had planned for this as well, and when he tries using his time device, he is taken to a new cell where he spends days watching what he was meant to do to Failsafe, with Waller hoping that the continued video playing in front of his cell will kind of drill in what he is meant to do into the man's head. and also let him know that he can't escape this and that Waller always wins. And that's sort of where Time Commander comes to the conclusion that Waller will always win. She'll always have a plan for everything. And again, this is something that was rife throughout that Suicide Squad book. They just kept reiterating, Waller will always win. Waller has a plan for everything. It was like every other page they kept doing that. And I got to a point where it was really frustrating me because you only really need to say that once or twice and then the reader gets it. The reader is not stupid. So for them to do it again here is just strange. Like, we get it. We're reading a book where Waller is the main villain. Of course she's going to be formidable. She's going up against the entire DC universe. Anyway, Time Commander installs the hourglass into Failsafe's chest and brings the robot back online. And instead of releasing him like Waller promised, she decides to force him to make 6 more hourglasses to install in the Amazobots that Failsafe had on hand that will eventually become Waller's own personal Justice League. Next up, Joshua Williamson rounds out the book with an epilogue to the House of Brainiac, connecting it up with Absolute Power. At the end of House of Brainiac, we saw Brainiac's ship blow up, but before it did, he sent his queen off to Earth, and it's revealed that she was found by Waller and Failsafe, who points out that the Brainiac body they have on hand now is essentially a blank slate and was cut off from the Brainiac hive mind, which essentially makes it a child. Again, Williamson back in the final issue of House of Brainiac was very heavy on the comparisons to Kal-El being sent off from Krypton when Brainiac sent the Queen off from his exploding ship, and I like that they're starting here now with a fresh slate. She's essentially a child, so Waller is going to use that to her advantage, and she ends up taking the young child to Sanctuary, the old superhero therapy retreat that never really worked at all. And we find out that thanks to Failsafe having access to files in his systems, he was able to create a VR world that both Waller and the Brainiac Queen are jacked into. And it's here that Waller plays mother to the young girl, raising her to fear the superheroes and to actually fight back against them, having VR constructs of Superman and the Justice League attack the farm, and the Brainiac Queen is trained to fight against them and kill them and fear them and hate them. This is a really interesting way to go with the Queen, because I just thought maybe Brainiac will leave the Queen on Earth and like she'll help Waller and Waller in return will give her the Earth or something. That's where I thought the story was going to go, but I much rather like this story where she's acting as the surrogate mother to the Queen. And it hits harder knowing that Waller had a family before all of this happened and they were ripped away from her, and it's the driving force of why she is doing what she is doing. So you feel this righteousness in what she's doing and raising the Queen here to fear these people that took her family from her, and she just wants this girl to not suffer the same fate as her family. But also in classic Waller fashion, she sees an asset she can use to her advantage. It also fits nicely into the arcs Williamson has been telling in his Superman ongoing, which has been all about family. And for that matter, Zdarsky's Batman ongoing has been doing that as well, with Batman learning to be more open to his family and accept them as part of his life. So it's pretty cool that both Zdarsky and Williamson were telling family stories that culminated right here in this book, and we get to see the aftermath of those stories here. Eventually, after 20 hours or 20 years in the VR world, Queen is ready and she returns to the real world ready to take down the heroes. I also guess this is the way Waller ends up taking the hero's powers, since the Brainiac Queen, when we first were introduced to her under Brainiac's control, was siphoning energy from the Superman family and the others on Brainiac's skull ship. So I think she'll be the one there kind of weakening all of the heroes, you know, siphoning their powers, and then the Amazos will kind of come in and take the powers outright. And it's a pretty cool plan, and I'm fairly certain that's where it's going to go. You wouldn't set up some of these characters like the Brainiac Queen with the siphoning energy power if you weren't going to use it. And I'm looking forward to seeing that unfold next week in Absolute Power issue 1. Absolute Power Ground Zero issue 1 rounded out the Batman, Superman and Suicide Squad's recent storylines and tied them directly into the main plot of Absolute Power. There was a lot on the Suicide Squad side of stuff that should have been in that 4-issue miniseries, but between the Failsafe and Brainiac Queen stories, there are some great things here that I can't wait to see unfold within Wade's summer event next week. I am going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10.